Well, that ain't gonna work. Chunk, chunk, chunk. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. A little bit of a sneak behind the scenes now. Sneak peek behind the scenes. I'm all out of sorts today. We're going to continue on with this week's theme of whatever, where my patrons just give me whatever they want me to check out. No restrictions, no thematic ties between the songs, just, whatever. Today we're going to be looking at a song from the band Colosseum. This comes off of their Chapter 1 Delirium album. We're going to be looking at Saturnine Vastness. The only place I could find this was on YouTube, and it's in a full album video, so I will put the link in the description as usual, but it'll be the full album. You'll have to find this track on your own. I believe it's track 4. Let's dive in though. See what Colosseum is bringing to the table today. Now, if I'm not mistaken, distorted guitars, slow tempo, organs, beautiful though. I'm thinking we're getting a very doomy intro right here. You know, it's interesting though, like, ooh, that's a tense one. It has a very theatric element to it. Yeah. This is interesting. It's dripping with melodrama in a way that doom metal doesn't always. Theatric's a good word for it, but I also get a dash of gothic metal. I'm interested to see where they take this. My guess is about 45 BPMs right here. We're looking about 42. 40, 42, 43, somewhere in there. I was close. A little fast. Ooh, I like that. That third chord gets me every time. Wait, and then sorrow, then anticipation, intention. It's a very theatric third chord. And then that dip down. It does have, I mean, I'm sure it's because of the name, but it feels colossal. So much so than the last section, this feels like a massive beast slowly stepping through a forest. Those orchestral flourishes, man. Between those, the theatric chord progression, and the heavy plodding guitars, like that is straight up boss battle music right there. The nice mix of metal and classical. You know, so far I'm rather impressed. I think doom metal's the most palatable of the extreme metals for me. But I'm really enjoying the more melodic approach to this one. The arpeggiation just makes it feel dreamlike. And you know, the reverb on that guitar is not changing my opinion of that dreamlike feeling. really gorgeous. It honestly is. Hey, is that it? I think so. Okay. Doom metal, right? I kind of feel bad about doing Doom on the channel because y'all will give me a 10-15 minute track or something, and there's like 2 minutes worth of music in it worth talking about. Everything else is just the slowness of it. It progresses through a track at a very slow pace. So 10 minutes of doom metal is like 3 minutes of rock or death metal or pop music. Um, it takes a longer time to get through that same 80 bars that someone else would get through in a third of the time. uh, but let's dive into this because I did enjoy this quite a bit. Um, I was just expecting more though. I think structurally we had the opening and then we had the bridge, and I was like, okay, that's cool. We brought some of the opening parts back. I was like, cool, this is going to develop into something. Before I knew it, it was fading out. So I mean, that's my disappointment there, is that I wish it was longer. I wish there was more to it. I didn't feel like we had reached an end yet. But let's talk about what is here, because it's not fair to judge something on what it's not, even though I'm quite guilty of doing that often. I didn't say I was good at it, I just said it wasn't fair. I'm getting better at judging based on what is there. Anyways, harmony, chords, the good meat to metal, death, doom metal. Anyways, what are we talking about? Yeah, so there's like a really cool 8 chord progression at the beginning of the song that pretty much underpins the entire track. And I love it, right? It starts off heavy and weighty. That first chord hits, you're like, yep, I'm in for some doom metal. I knew it immediately, right? I heard that first chord and just the sheer weight of it, this force pushing down on me. And then I heard how long it took to get to the second chord. And I heard the guitar tone. It did not take me long, a couple of seconds. I was like, this is a doomy intro at the very least. Maybe things will ramp up. Who knows what's ahead of us? But this right here, we got some straight up doom metal. The second chord comes in and it's got more despair in it. It's got melancholy. I'm like, yep. I hear the organ coming in underneath it. I'm like, okay, we might even be in funeral doom territory. At this point, I don't know. It might just have been an orchestral selection of instruments. I think funeral doom has to be slower, right? Funeral doom's in the like 20s to 30 BPM. Maybe it's 30 to 40. I don't think we've listened to anything slower than 35 on the channel. So maybe Funeral's like 30 to 40, and then regular Doom's 50 to 60. But then there's also like the topic. I think lyrically, Funeral Doom is also distinct from regular Doom metal. I'm not 100% certain on that. Anyways, this is pretty slow, and it's possibly Funeral Doom. But then that third chord hits. And that's when I knew I was in for something special, because it adds melodrama. It's more tension, sure, anxiety still, but also kind of intrigue. There's a questioning of things there. Mystery, I think, is more important than intrigue, more accurate. It's mysterious. It adds an element of the unknown to it, something that the other two are very clear about. Whatever is heavy, it's weighty, whatever bears down on us and makes us feel down is known. But on this third chord, it's unknown. What is that? What is going on here, Phantom of the Opera? And then from there, the chords dance back and forth between the melodramatic theatrics and the very depressive, heavy, metallic chords that we expect from doom metal. And I really love that. I mentioned that at parts, it even kind of feels like it borrows from gothic metal, the heavy melodrama of that, the chords they tend to use. And it just creates something that is definitely dreary and weighty, like we expect from doom metal, while also introducing some theatric elements to it, expanding on those core feelings and saying, what else can we associate with this? How can we incorporate more into this? Can we make this atmosphere multifaceted? And I really love that. It makes me want to check out the rest of the album, and honestly, there's only 6 tracks. Granted, it's still 55 minutes long almost, but I mean, if the rest of the songs go by as quickly as this one did, it's not going to take that long for me to. Well, I mean, it's going to take 55 minutes, but y'all, you know how it is, right? Sometimes albums are faster than others, even if they have the same length. Anyways, I'm totally on board with this. Everything about the harmony, the chord progressions, the atmosphere of this, it's I think what speaks to me about it all is that doom metal to me, like I said, I think as far as the main extreme metals, death, doom, and black, this is the one that's most palatable for me. I'm usually not a big fan of the growls, but the atmosphere of it I feel is something I can get into more easily. It might also just be that it's less intense. The weight is intense, but death metal and blackened metal can be very aggressive in their speed and their delivery and how fast things come at you. Doom metal's kind of soft in its weight. It's a feeling more than an assault, if that makes sense. I mean, black metal can be atmospheric too, but y'all know I have my issues with black metal, right? We're just going to leave that for another day. But what I like about this is that doom metal can often be very campy, as I think all of them can. They're really pushing the metallic form to its limits, and anytime you start getting close to the extents of something, it can become too much. You can cross that line and reach a point where it can feel like parody or camp at times. You just kind of move into that extreme realm, and not everyone's going to interpret the extremity the same way. Doom metal to me can often feel kind of campy. It's overly slow. It's overly dramatic. It's overly heavy and weighty. It really pushes it to its extreme. But bringing in melodramatics, bringing in theatrics, I think these elements, contrary to I think what I expected, which would be to elevate the camp, they kind of root it and cement it in a way. I think it depends on your background, though, as is common. Like I just said, everybody's going to read extremity in different way, but I think because I enjoy musical theater, because I love the melodramatic element of emo, of theater in general, not even musical theater, but that type of melodrama just really works for me. And so bringing that into the realm of doom metal, instead of taking that campiness of the metallic side and saying, okay, we're going to run with this, it kind of roots it down, cements it, and makes it feel centered in a way. And again, I think that might just be me. Some people listen to this and they're like, wow, the cheese is off the charts. I can smell it from a room away. But for me, the combination here is genius. It works so well and it complements each other because they're both kind of extreme in their own rights. Musical theater, I mean, the whole concept is that the characters have reached such a breaking point with their emotion that speech no longer works and they must sing their way through their feelings. I mean, if that's not campy, I don't know what is. But instead of compounding, they sort of just hold each other down. The theatrics don't feel as overdone with the metallic weight of it, and the heaviness doesn't feel as campy brooding because of The expanded emotional weight going on in the atmosphere. It's a perfect complement for me, with both sides balancing each other out. And this isn't done just with chords, although I think the chords alone would certainly do it. But there's also the expanded instrumentation. We have bells, we have the chimes that we use every once in a while for um, that sort of entering a dream state sound. I love that. Again, something that should be campy, and I'm even cracking up at it. It is kind of absurd in the abstract, but in the moment, it worked really well. Um, we have the organ that plays, and I think that really cements it down in uh, the theatric side of things. I mentioned Phantom of the Opera earlier in a sort of off joke about how serious this thing takes itself, but honestly, I do get some Phantom of the Opera vibes from this. So that's probably why that phrase popped up in my mind to start with. It it has the moodiness, it has the sounds. If you take the metallic part out and you just listen to the expanded instrumentation, I think you're going to get a lot of moody musical theater. That sappy melodrama sound is going to come from that. I'm a huge fan of that. Pairing it with the metal guitars, yes, 100%. This is something I talk about all the time. There are very few instances where a metal band brings in instruments from outside the metal band. We're not talking just electric guitars, electric bass, and drums. Just give me other things. Give me marimbas, give me bells, give me organs, give me violin. I don't think we had violins in here, but seriously, just bring some instruments from other types of music. Throw some saxophone in there. Saxophone, trumpet in metal works. Well, metal, maybe not so much for trumpet. Punk and trumpet go together so well. I mean, that's ska, duh. But like, oh, it works every time. I don't think there's going to be a single song y'all throw at me with instruments outside of a metal band in a metal song, and I'm gonna be like, actually, I would have liked it with just the guitars. No, that's not me. I like expanded timbres, and I think this song does it well. It grabs what it knows is going to work with this sound and incorporates it in very theatric ways, almost in stereotypically theatric ways. I mean, the organ there to add to the and embellish on the melancholy of the situation. I mean, that's so stereotypical. It works. I mean, there's stereotypes for a reason. It's because they work. They've just been done over and over and over and over to where they become stereotypical. But being a stereotype, being a trope, I mean, that's easy to lean into because it's established. We know that works. um, and I just, geez, like I said, right from the start, I was on board. Now, there is a part of the song that I'm a little less enthused about, and that's the bridge, the middle, the second part. We brought a synth in and we explored some new chords. We brought in arpeggiation, which we ended up using for the rest of the song. It's it's a fine contrast, I suppose. I enjoy having the levity of removing the metallic side, focusing only on this instrumentation, but I don't really think it did anything or went anywhere. But doom metal doesn't do that anyways, so I don't know. Maybe it works fine in the concept of doom metal, but that sounds limiting. I kind of wish that this middle section would have picked up the pace a little bit, explored a little bit more melody, counterpoint, rather than purely still focusing on atmosphere. There are melodic qualities to this song, but can you hum me back anything that was played here? I'm going to wager probably not, because I have a tough time outside of the arpeggiation and the first few chords. I mean, I can't sing polyphonically, but I can hear them very clearly in my head. That move from weight to melancholy to mystery back to dreariness. That four chord thing's going to sit with me for a while. But melodies? No. I really can't hum any. There's nothing in here that's memorable because there's not really a focus on melody at all. Even the instrument which typically provides melody when it's present, the vocals, are done through growl here, which is purely atmosphere. I can't even call them rhythmic. They are pure texture because they're kind of lost in the mix. And they're just kind of holding out notes like everything else. Almost everything in here is working on quarter notes or more frequently half notes, which is 2 beats long. And it's just everything is held out for so long that rhythm isn't a core aspect of this song at all. And so that's like the kind of contrast I would have liked in the bridge. I think sonically we enter a new atmosphere, but I would have also liked a bit of a different approach to the songwriting too. And here I go asking for things the song isn't doing. I told you I'm not good at this. I try to be better at it, but I would have really liked more contrast in the middle. But I suppose looking at it purely on a sonic landscape perspective, it is a nice change of pace. But because it changes so much of the emotion and feeling of the song without really changing anything else and not bringing in any lead melody to it, it's sort of just another atmosphere to get lost in, and I didn't engage with it as much as the other. I'm curious what the lyrics are. Maybe there's a point to this levity in the middle of the track, but I found so little connection to the first and third part that, like I said, it felt like something that would help build. We reduce the weight in this section. We look at something with a little bit more levity. We go back to the metal, and this is going to allow us to hit a third heaviness, a new peak to the song to wrap it up on, and we didn't get that either. The song ended on that third section, so I don't know. Maybe I just need another listen through to grasp what that section's doing. And that wraps it up. You know, the growls, they're growls. I don't have anything to say about that. And to me, it's all about the atmosphere. It's all about the timbres that are used here, and I touched on all that. Let me see what the lyrics are doing on this one, and then we're going to wrap this one up. Now, I wonder where these lyrics take place. There's not a lot of them, but honestly, given how slowly the lyrics are delivered, I could easily see this split at some point, but it's only 12 lines. It says, bleak time stands still here, frozen vastness of nothingness. So basically, we're just in an empty void. It says, I feel nothing but pain and I can't escape the infinity of screams. I writhe in unended bliss of torment, never ending. Oh, he put unending and never ending in the same sentence. Really want you to know this is forever. It says, I'm so blind to my being that once existed beyond agony. I like that. That he's in so much pain that it has lasted for so long, and knowing that it will last for all of eternity, that he says he can't even remember what exists outside of this. Maybe before it, maybe somehow after it, after unendingness, if that's possible. Slowly I drift to slumber exhausting, to awake in another reality that's more unforgiving and cruel. The hollow walls painted with tears uncried, sullen chambers for dead to lie. Close your eyes and try to see something that you've never seen. So we have somebody who's just in 100% turmoil, pain, torment, constant. They can't remember anything else. When they do sleep in an attempt to escape it, they find themselves somewhere worse. They try to see something that they've never seen. I love that. To picture, to create something new. I find that interesting. Imagine that this is the only existence you know. Maybe it wasn't the only existence you've ever known, but it's the only thing you can remember. How do you picture not being in torment, in pain constantly? You don't even know what that would look like. What would that be? It's a state of being that's completely unknown to you. This isn't about trying to imagine something else. It's about trying to imagine something completely unknown. An impossibility, maybe even. I mean, imagine trying to invent flying, airplanes, hang glider, anything like that, without having first seen birds, without knowing what the concept of flight is. The sheer concept of moving without touching the ground isn't just foreign, it's unknown. This concept of flying does not exist. Would you even go about inventing this thing? How would you even begin to think that you would want to invent this thing? I think that's what's really going on here at the end, and it speaks to the experience of this individual. Just the impossible task they have to understand any sort of experience other than this. So, if the song is about being in constant pain and not knowing anything else, not even to even imagine yourself in a better situation, what does the middle part of the song represent then? Because to me, it represents a levity, it's a release. That's why I'm kind of curious where all these lines take place. Is the part about waking up in another reality that's more unforgiving, about trying to see something you've never seen before, does that take place in the third section? Maybe that would represent the middle as it says, slowly I drift to slumber. Maybe that's what that represents. Only to wake up somewhere just as bad. But then even that peace would be an experience of peace. The ending seems to subvert that, though. This person doesn't understand that at all. So I don't know. According to the lyrics, I would think the entire song would just be aggressively, overwhelmingly dreary, heavy, weighty, but it's not. The music has a moment of pure bliss and beauty in it. What does that represent then? I don't know. Could just be one of those situations where they wrote some cool stuff and put it in the song, and it doesn't necessarily need to line up with the lyrics. But y'all know me. I like my music and my lyrical themes to line up when possible. So anyways, I guess that's it then. These are my thoughts. Colosseum's Saturnine Vastness. What did you think? Is there anything here that you liked, that you enjoyed? Maybe you want to add on to anything that I talked about? Maybe I was wrong about something. You want to correct me. Maybe you have your own interpretation of things. Put any of that, any thoughts that you might have on top of that into the comment section below this video. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell, I greatly appreciate all three of those. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. We're going to wrap up this week's theme. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.